My name is Rahzizi Ishakarah, and I'm the founder of BLEX. BLEX is a clothing brand that stands for Black excellence and focuses on defying expectations of what it means to be Black. I'm from the inner city of Jackson, Mississippi, where a lot of my homies didn't make it out. Going to jail was romanticized and it was normalized to go to sleep to gunshot lullabies. Like everybody else in my hood, I had hoop dreams. Everybody was a hooper, but nobody could swim. So I never imagined I'll be in LA, surfing waves. I think for me, my family definitely inspires me. I come from a family of 10, I'm the last child, and all of them are artists from, painting, drawing, music, dancing, piano, literally everything you could think of. And for me, I always want to be like them. By doing art, I feel like I have a deep tie to them as well. I started BLEX about a year ago, and we want to promote positive images of Black people that defy the stereotypes in mainstream media. They're negative and damaging, and we simply want to promote images that promote just being yourself and being comfortable with your own identity. I really finalized the idea when I was in London about 2 years ago, and I was working on the project for design, and I went to this museum called the Imperial War Museum, and there was all this harsh World War II imagery and of people's faces getting blown off. And at the time, Britain was really scared that Hitler was going to bomb them, so they gave 38 million masks to citizens. It was crazy, and you always had to wear the mask with you, or you always had to have it with you at all times. And kids were really afraid to have it on them. They were claustrophobic, and to appease themselves, they would blow out really hard and make these fart noises, right? And that made me think about the idea of smiling through the pain, right? And there was this artist, a poet named Paul Laurence Dunbar, and he was very prominent around the Harlem Renaissance period. And he wrote this poem called "We Wear the Mask," and basically talks about putting on a metaphorical mask and put on a facade of happiness while living in a white-dominated society. And I just really thought about what the soldiers had to go through while fighting, with the Allied powers, and then coming back and facing all the discrimination. And they had to put on this metaphorical mask. So I started BLEX to basically not have to strip away your identity and appease others. I just want you to just metaphorically take off your mask and just be yourself. So for me, Black excellence just means doing whatever you love. And like I said earlier, it also means not having to mold yourself into whatever narrative you think fits the Black identity. So with that being said, Black excellence is anything that you want it to be and anything that you're doing within your own life that's excellent for you. For me, I care mostly about leading by example, rather than, talking about things I'm doing. I'd rather somebody see it and, follow that idea. This kid was with his mom. He was about 10, and she was like, "Oh, he wants to tell you something." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And he said, "I want to be like you when I grow up." And that was just crazy for me because my whole life, I was just only doing this for myself. It was for selfish reasons. I was just competitive. I just wanted to win at everything. But then at that moment, I noticed and I realized that the things that I'm doing within myself, other people are seeing, and it can influence them to do something great. It's important to have positive role models in your life. So it's definitely difficult having your own brand, being self-motivated. And one of the hardest things about having the brand is still being motivated and thinking that this is actually important to somebody else. Because a lot of times you can be in this vacuum and then you just be discouraged because you're like, what am I actually doing? Well, why am I doing this? within our community, a lot of times we can perceive things as not being a part of a culture. So we can see it as like a white sport, something like that. A lot of times people feel like they shouldn't do this because it's not a part of, being black, the black identity. And a lot of times it's because of media. And there's always this one-dimensional view of like the black person. And that's either, a ball player or a rapper. And once you don't fall into that lane, then you're kind of seen as like a less black. So I think it's important to push the narrative forward and shift it to something that's all inclusive and isn't just one type of person. So Marcus reached out to me to do a collaboration with Honesty Hour, and it's crazy because they actually did an honesty panel with Vote For Me, which is an organization I did graphic design for. And like I was saying, so there's always this synergy, this connection, and also I went to school with Marcus, and one thing Marcus talks about is playing hockey, growing up, as a black kid, and there was all these white people, saying that, essentially he was like the odd one out, and a lot of times he would feel like this idea of not being black enough. So I think for me, Honesty Hour ties into that idea of having conversations that are important to make people feel more comfortable, and also just how to start those conversations. There are these key elements of having a brand that talks about something that's important. Essentially, there's this element of community, and that has been a key element within all of my work, as well as within Honesty Hour. So the advice I would give to my younger self, or anybody starting off, would just be true to yourself, because growing up, I always felt like I was an outsider, and I kind of wanted to assimilate to what everybody else was doing, because I had a different name, I was an artist, but I felt more like an athlete, and then also I was academically gifted. So all these things where I didn't truly fit into either role, and so I would be in these art spaces, and I would never feel like I fit into those spaces, because I would go to these competitions, and they would tell us that, oh, if you're not drawing every day, you're not really an artist, right? So I would be in that space and be like, oh, okay, I like doing other things, so I would never really feel like truly an artist. And so I think it's important to not let other people define like who you are as a person, and you don't have to fit into these narrative boxes.
Symphony of C notes, oasis in the heat stroke. A class of only classics, not a class of cases bespoke. Tailor-made cadences, I came to bring my people up. Bring the best out of everybody, that mean I don't sleep enough. Want the best for everybody, want the most for everybody. Want some things from everybody, I don't hear from anybody. So I lower focus to the beast like I'm in Kenny body. Feel like Jasmine Sullivan, I've been around too many bodies. So I guess the question is, what does it mean to be someone who's black and excellent? When finding light between the nights we hide our lessons in, means hiding fights between the sides of us we lesson in. Is it being a good friend, a good entertainer, or just being a good man with less living haters? I can't make it by myself either way, cause I ain't shaking either help or the hate. So it's up till the day.